Hey guys, this is Ike's with Rollout Reviews, bringing you another S.H.Figuarts review. This time it is Masked Rider Hibiki, a very anticipated release and one from the Shinkochu Seiho line, the same string of Figuarts that the recent Kabuto renewal came out of. Basically, they use a different methodology of molding these figures, using skeletal structures and muscle patterns. You know, making it actually look like there's a guy beneath this suit rather than a bundle of sticks. Set this over here and take a quick look at the packaging. Being in this special line, he comes in a fancy box. The figure on the front there, pretty minimal text on the sides, some stuff on the back, and a different layout on the inside with slightly different trays. A very, very nice presentation. Now also being in this line, he comes with a concept book. But very similarly to Kabuto's, doesn't have a whole lot in it, except for maybe this spooky, scary skeleton. But that's about it. Hibiki has a stunning metallic purple paint job from head to toe, but it is worth mentioning a couple things about how this process is done. First, there's a coat of silver, and then over the top of that is a translucent purple coat. Now, while this looks great and catches the light in such an excellent way, it does mean occasionally some quality control issues can come up. A lot of people have had issues with speckles of silver showing through, and some of the joints can stick together just because of the paint application process. Namely, beneath the thighs here, you'll find little flakes of silver paint, which can be off-putting to a lot of people, but hides itself easy enough. Starting with the top here, Hibiki goes away from some of the traditions of Kamen Rider. He's kind of the black sheep of the bunch, so he doesn't have translucent compound eyes, but just the way his head is painted, sometimes it catches the light the way translucent plastic would, despite being opaque. It's kind of interesting. Really nice gradient there, and some excellent detail on his crest. This harness piece here is a soft, rubbery plastic, which doesn't really change a whole lot. His shoulder pieces come down and it reveals some flat purple plastic, which is present on the figure in a number of places, but blends in and hides itself well. Again, on the elbow there. Once again, a nice gradient on his glove. All of his cuffs here on his ankles and wrists are a softer plastic, as well as his hands. Now, they have this nice black wash on them. However, because they're a softer plastic, I do find that sometimes when I am replacing his hands, I'll find little speckles of black paint on my fingers. I don't see it becoming too much of a problem or that black wash coming off at all, but do be careful. The details on his belt are fantastic. His belt buckle is removable here, and reveals some detail beneath, but there's no real way of having him hold this. He also doesn't come with a larger expanded drum accessory, so really all you can do with this is remove it and maybe put him in a pose as if he's beating a drum, like it's already been expanded. It's also pretty easy to get back on, but does wobble just a little bit. Not too much though. His folded up onsa over here, some disc animals holstered over there, and his ongeki bow on the back, which look really nice. This little loincloth piece here also has a similar black wash. The rest of the figure is pretty straightforward, but all the same, looks great. And there's nothing on the bottom of his plastic feet. For articulation, Hibiki has a similar neck setup to Kabuto in the fact that it's a lot more substantial than your standard Figuart, but has plenty of range. It can go down about that far, up about that far, all the way around. Now, his shoulders also have a similar setup, but just the way it's molded, it's a little bit questionable. Once again, it's on that double hinge there, but it does become painfully evident that his upper arm is super thin to allow such a wide range. Now, when you bring his arm out, that shoulder armor will go up naturally, just like on Kabuto, but it does create this ugly-looking gap there, unfortunately. Suppose it couldn't be avoided. He also has the shoulder blade thing here, which is super subtle, probably not needed, but it is there. It's got a rotation up here, but it's a very, very tight joint, an adequate elbow bend, and a rotation at the cuff, which is always nice to see. Now his wrist joints go back to the traditional. I would have liked to see that Figma-style joint on all of this line's Figuarts, both Kabuto and Hibiki, but this works just the same. Some people would be happy about this change back to what Figuarts is used to, but honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. Now his waist is on a mechanism that allows it to pull out just a little bit, and you can get some absolutely crazy range here. Really, really far back all the way around. It is worth noting that when you bring him forward like this, it creates a gap back there. You'll see that. And sometimes his belt can get stuck in that, causing this to jam up a little bit, and you kind of have to fiddle around with it to get his well, back underneath the belt there. Also, that issue makes attaching the Ongekibo a little bit tricky, because if his waist is crunched like that and this gets stuck under there, you have nothing behind it, so it's really difficult to peg this back on. So once again, you have to fiddle with that, bring him back, reattach this, and it's just a hassle, honestly. But it is what it is. Now, let's talk about his hips, because this is absolutely awesome. First of all, these are on little rotations, so they can get out of the way just fine. But his hips aren't really type 1, and aren't really type 2. They don't come down on a double hinge, and they're not really a standard universal joint. I'd go as far as calling these type 3, because they go out about this far. So far, a pretty standard joint there. But when you bring his leg forward, there's this little cover piece, and that whole segment there rotates, giving him this incredible range that is virtually unbroken and looks really, really good. So, I mean, he's got an excellent range in his legs, and I'd love to see this kind of joint on more Figuarts. As far as his knees go, bends about that far. Of course, it rotates up here. It's got an ankle tilt and the toe. So overall, his articulation has an incredible range, can be a little bit fiddly or questionable in some places, but overall, I think the pluses definitely outweigh the cons here. Hibiki comes with a wide range of accessories. We'll take a look at them, starting with his hands. Of course, you have standard closed fists. We have some open palm hands. You have some hands for holding the Ongekibo. You have some hands for holding either single discs or his Onsa tuning fork. And you have his saluting hands, which can also double for holding multiple discs at a time between the fingers, which is a super cool effect. He, of course, comes with the Onsa, both extended and ready to be held, and folded up and attached to his belt. Unfortunately, you can't attach any of the animal discs he comes with on there. This is made of hard plastic and extremely thin, so be very, very careful. It has 3 disc animals, active and ready to jump and fly away. You have the hawk in red, the monkey in green, and the wolf in blue. All of them have completely translucent backs and are made out of kind of a rubbery plastic, which is super weird. Now, on his belt, you'll notice he has the discs hanging here, but on this side, since he was using his onsa, it is missing. Well, when you pull off this piece, it leaves a hole. And so he comes with these replacement belt straps, which are extremely tiny. Here's one of Hibiki's belt straps, and here is a Forze Astro switch. There's a new level of ridiculous for tiny Figuart accessories to keep track of. You thought it was difficult finding this on a shag carpet? Good luck. So, definitely keep track of those. Definitely don't let them drop on the floor. Now, he also comes with this replacement strap for his Ungeki bow. You got the Ungeki bow stored on his back, and the extended versions ready to be held. I have this little loop here. And getting the designated hand to hold them can be a little bit tricky because of it, just because you sort of have to feed the index finger through that loop. But it isn't too difficult. Of course, the heads on the end of the Ungeki bow there are different, as they should be, which is nice. And we can replace his hands simple enough so that he can hold them. Let's pull this one off here. Get another Ungeki bow holding hand, if we can find it in this mess. Slot that through and attach this there. So he is ready to beat the drum. Now you also get some effect parts in the form of these flame-on drum tips, I guess. Don't know what the proper term is. Anyway, that just pulls off there, and these plug on in their place. Once again, over here, just kind of a mushroom cap connection, and this replaces simple enough. Just like that. Very, very cool. Now there are three kinds of people in this world. Those who absolutely hate Kamen Rider Hibiki, those who absolutely love Kamen Rider Hibiki, and those who think it was kind of weird, but okay, I guess, for at least the first 25 episodes. No matter which of those three categories you fall into, I can highly recommend this figure, just as long as you think the suit design looks cool and are willing to pay the slightly more premium price for the Shinkochu Seiho figures. That may be the deciding factor. It's not without some glaring flaws, but if you're trying to complete your Heisei Rider collection, this definitely deserves a place on your shelf, and if you're like me, who Hibiki is one of your favorite riders and absolutely love the suit design, then you need this in your collection. So that is about it, guys, and this is IXRoll@IX, signing off.